Milano Cortina 2026, Olympic Women's Final. Madison Reed, representing the United States, needed just one jump to take home the gold. She had nailed this exact routine 23 times in a row. The music swelled. She accelerated down the ice, and then she fell. But here's the detail nobody caught that night. Just before launching into her jump, she glanced at the technical panel. Not the way athletes usually do, not checking for scores or signals. This was different. Like she was confirming something, and then she adjusted her speed, breathed deliberately, and chose to fall. This is a fictional story, inspired by the very real pressure behind Olympic curtains. By the time you understand what really happened, you might never watch a final the same way again. Madison Reed was America's golden girl heading into 2026. 22 years old from Minnesota, daughter of a former Olympian, with endorsement deals worth millions, and a documentary crew tracking her every move. She didn't miss this jump. Not in Cortina practice sessions, not in qualifiers, not under any kind of pressure. The fall made absolutely no sense. Within hours, technicians found something disturbing in the official audio feed, a 0.6-second delay in the final musical section. Just enough to destroy the timing of a jump requiring split-second precision. Sabotage? The Italian organizing committee denied any malfunction. The audio file had come from the American team. And the login that modified the system? Internal. Someone on the inside had done this. By the next morning, Madison was found unconscious in the Olympic Village. Medical tests revealed microdoses of a beta blocker in her system, a substance that reduces explosive muscle power. Not enough to trigger doping violations, but enough to compromise reflexes at the critical moment. Now investigators had altered music, drugs in her blood, and an Olympic final. Someone had wanted her to lose badly. The gold went to an Eastern European athlete. Social media exploded with conspiracy theories about international sabotage. But Team USA's investigators discovered something strange. Zero external access to the system. Everything had been done with internal credentials. The sabotage came from inside the American operation itself. The sound technician confessed within 48 hours. He admitted receiving an anonymous payment to alter the audio, international wire transfer, offshore account. The name behind the money? An investor connected to Madison's primary sponsor, Velocity Sports. The motive became clear. If Madison won, certain contract clauses activated. If she lost, different clauses worth millions would trigger instead. She had been sabotaged by the very company that used her face in their advertising campaigns. Case closed. Except it wasn't. Investigators reviewed the 4K footage frame by frame. At the exact moment the music glitched, Madison didn't look confused or panicked. She looked calm. She adjusted her rhythm, decreased her speed, and made no attempt to recover. Champions adapt to technical problems constantly. They compensate. They push through. Madison didn't even try. She had the skill to save it. She chose not to. Then, an independent journalist obtained an email sent 12 days before the games. Sender, Madison. Subject line, Plan B confirmed. The message contained one devastating sentence. If I win, I'm trapped for another 4 years. If I fall, nobody can force me. The beta blocker? Self-administered? The altered music? Requested by her through carefully layered channels. The sound technician genuinely believed he was sabotaging her. But he was following instructions that originated from Madison herself, disguised so well he never suspected. She had orchestrated her own downfall. Madison had been fighting an irreversible hip injury for 8 months. Sealed medical reports showed extensive cartilage damage. One more explosive jump, the kind needed for Olympic gold, would require surgery. At 22, she'd need a hip replacement. But if she failed at the final, she could retire under medical recommendation and receive full contractual payout without breach. She wasn't a victim, she was an architect. But here's the twist investigators almost missed. Velocity Sports really was planning to manipulate her results. The external conspiracy was real. They had bribed equipment inspectors, arranged disruptive drug tests, invested millions in her main rival. They wanted Madison to lose while still meddling, enough to fulfill minimum contract requirements while their other investment took gold. Madison had discovered their plot 72 hours before her event. She found it because someone got sloppy with a corporate email. Instead of exposing them, she integrated their sabotage into her own plan. She let their conspiracy unfold exactly as they designed it. Then she used it as cover for her own choice. She turned a conspiracy against her into her liberation. Let me take you back to understand how someone becomes capable of this. Madison started training at 4 years old. Her father Marcus had competed in the 1998 Nagano Olympics, finished 7th, a placement that haunted him forever. He saw his daughter's talent as redemption, not her redemption. His. By 8, she trained 6 days weekly. By 12, she was homeschooled to accommodate practice. By 15, she had her first major endorsement. The money was good. The cost was everything else. Friendships, normalcy, childhood. Her mother Claire tried intervening when Madison turned 16. She saw the stress fractures, the anxiety attacks, the tears after practice because her body hurt so badly. Claire suggested taking a year off. Marcus exploded, accused her of sabotaging their daughter's dreams. They divorced within 6 months. Madison kept training. What else could she do? This was her entire identity. The hip injury started as a dull ache after long sessions. She didn't tell anyone. Telling meant stopping, and stopping meant disappointing everyone who had invested in her. Her father, her coaches, her sponsors, the fans who saw her as America's hope. She pushed through with anti-inflammatories and ice. By the time she qualified for Milano Cortina, 3 orthopedic surgeons had confirmed the same diagnosis: deteriorating cartilage. 1 more year of high-impact training would destroy her joint completely. Her Velocity Sports contract was worth $8 million over 4 years. But the Golden Clause stated, win Olympic gold, and the contract automatically extends for 4 more years at $12 million. Fail to medal, and it pays out at current rate. Retire for medical reasons and receive $6 million immediately. Win gold and destroy her body for another 4 years of brutal training, or walk away with $6 million and the rest of her life ahead. For most people, it wouldn't be a choice. But Madison had been raised where winning was everything, where sacrifice was virtue, where walking away meant proving every critic right. 6 weeks before the Olympics, Madison discovered Velocity had taken an insurance policy on her performance. They would profit massively if she won. But they had also invested heavily in her primary rival, their portfolio approach to Olympic sponsorships. Never put all money on one athlete. Madison found out through a leaked memo accidentally sent to her agent's assistant. The memo listed her as Asset A, high risk, high reward, and her rival as Asset B, consistent, reliable. She was an asset, a line item in a corporate strategy. The company that built their entire Olympic campaign around her personal story was actively hedging against her success. That's when Madison started planning. Not impulsively. She spent weeks analyzing every angle. She consulted lawyers anonymously about the medical retirement clause. She researched beta blockers. She studied Olympic technical systems. She created anonymous email accounts and started moving pieces into position. The sound technician was easy. He was young, underpaid, resentful. Madison had actually talked to him before, not as Madison Reed, Olympic hopeful, but as a person who asked about his day and remembered his name. When he received an anonymous $50,000 offer to make a small audio adjustment, he took it. He never knew the offer came from her. The beta blocker was self-administered 3 days before the final, just enough to dull her explosive power by a few percentage points. Not enough for positive doping tests. Just enough to provide an excuse if anyone questioned why she couldn't recover from the timing issue. The night before her event, Madison went through her normal routine. She stretched, visualized, smiled for cameras. She looked like the confident American champion everyone expected. Inside, her heart hammered, not from competition nerves, but from knowing what she was about to do. When her music started and the timing felt off, she had a moment of pure panic, not because the plan was working, because she realized she still wanted to win. Years of conditioning don't disappear from one logical decision. Every instinct screamed at her to adjust, compensate, land the jump anyway. She was good enough. Even with the timing off, even with the beta blocker, she could probably still do it. That's the moment she looked at the technical panel, not waiting for something, making a choice in real time. She could push through, win gold, let the machine consume 4 more years of her life. Or she could let go. She decreased her speed, under-rotated, and fell. In that moment of falling, she felt something she hadn't felt in years. Freedom. The aftermath was chaos. Media dissected every frame. Experts debated what went wrong. Conspiracy theories exploded online. Madison played her part perfectly. Devastated, confused, apologetic. When they found the beta blocker, she acted shocked. When they discovered the audio manipulation, she acted betrayed. The public narrative became that she'd been sabotaged by corrupt elements, possibly gambling interests. The sound technician was arrested. Velocity Sports faced federal investigation. Madison announced her retirement 3 months later, citing the hip injury and psychological trauma. She received full medical payout from Velocity. She avoided media for a year, moved to Vermont where nobody cared about Olympics, enrolled in college for architecture, started therapy. Her father never forgave her, sent letters calling her a quitter. She blocked his number. Her mother visited but never asked what really happened that night. Some things are better left unsaid. 2 years later, journalist Aaron Cross found her. He had sources inside Velocity Sports, had traced the offshore accounts, found the emails. He knew everything. They met at a coffee shop near her campus. Aaron laid out what he'd discovered. The self-administered drugs, the coordination with the technician, how she'd used Velocity's sabotage against them. He was publishing the story. He gave her a chance to comment. Madison sat quietly, then asked, "If you'd been in my position, knowing your body was being destroyed, knowing you were just an asset to exploit, knowing winning meant sacrificing your entire future, what would you have done?" Aaron had no answer. Madison continued. "Everyone talks about integrity in sports, how athletes should compete with honor, give everything for glory. Nobody talks about what the system does to athletes, how we're commodified, how our bodies are corporate investments, how we're pressured to compete through injuries that affect us forever. I didn't cheat to win. I chose not to be destroyed." Aaron published, but he framed it differently than expected. Not an exposé about an athlete who threw a final, a story about a young woman who found the only way out of a system designed to consume her. Response was divided. Some called her a fraud, disgrace to American athletics. Others called her brave, a whistleblower exposing Olympic reality. Madison released one statement. "It was the only jump I controlled," then disappeared from public life again. But here's what happened next that almost nobody knows. 3 months after Aaron's article published, he received an anonymous message. Just coordinates and a time. He went. An abandoned parking garage in Philadelphia. Waiting there was someone he never expected. Marcus Reed, Madison's father. Marcus handed Aaron a folder. Inside were documents showing that Madison's entire plan had one more layer nobody had caught. The lawyer she'd consulted anonymously was actually working for a group of former Olympic athletes who had been building a case against Velocity Sports for years. Madison hadn't just saved herself. She'd become the whistleblower they needed. Her medical records, her documentation of pressure to compete while injured, her evidence of how Velocity manipulated athletes as corporate assets, all of it was now part of a federal lawsuit representing 47 athletes across multiple sports. Marcus looked broken. "I thought she quit. I thought she gave up on everything we built." But she didn't quit. She fought back, just not the way I would have. He paused. And I almost destroyed her trying to make her into me. The folder contained one more thing. A letter from Madison to her father, written the night before her final. She'd given it to the lawyer with instructions to deliver it to Marcus only if he asked for it. Really asked, not demanded. The letter explained everything. Why she had to do it. How much she'd wanted to make him proud. How she'd realized that making him proud was killing her. How she hoped one day he'd understand that letting go of his dream didn't mean she'd stopped loving him. Aaron never published this part of the story. Marcus asked him not to, and Aaron agreed. Some revelations are private. The federal lawsuit resulted in a $50 million settlement and complete restructuring of how Olympic athletes could negotiate contracts. Velocity Sports was forced to create an athlete welfare fund. The CEO resigned. Other athletes started speaking out about exploitation they'd endured. Reforms were implemented, not perfect ones, but real ones. Madison graduated 5 years after Milano Cortina with her architecture degree. She started her own firm specializing in adaptive design for people with disabilities. She never competed again, never watched the Olympics. She built a quiet life doing work she cared about with people who valued her for who she was. But she still thought about that moment sometimes. The moment of choosing to fall. She never regretted it. But she wondered about the alternate version of herself. The one who pushed through, landed the jump, won gold. Would that Madison be happy? Would she even still be walking? She would never know. And that was okay. The question that haunted everyone was this. Was what Madison did wrong? She manipulated a competition, deceived the public, orchestrated fake sabotage. By traditional definition, she committed fraud. But she was fighting a system rigged from the start. One that treated athletes as expendable resources, profited from their pain, gave them no legitimate way out. She'd been trapped in contracts signed when she barely understood them, pushed into competition while injured by people who cared more about winning than her well-being. Was she villain or victim? The uncomfortable answer, both. She did something dishonest in response to years of exploitation, in a system offering no honest alternatives. The real question nobody wanted to face. How many other athletes are in similar situations right now? How many are competing through injuries that will haunt them forever? How many feel trapped by contracts, expectations, dreams that were never really their own? 10 years later, when Milano Cortina hosted the 2036 Olympics, Madison was invited as a guest. She declined and sent a statement instead. I wish all competing athletes the wisdom to know when winning isn't worth the cost and the courage to walk away if needed. May they all find their own way home. The final question, the one that cuts to the heart of everything, is this. If you knew winning would cost you your body, your freedom, your future, would you step into that jump? Or would you choose to fall? There's no right answer. There's only the answer you could live with. Madison found hers. Now I'm asking you, courage or fraud? Because the answer you give says more about what you value than it does about what she did.
So, that's the end of this story, but there are plenty of other great ones right here. Before you go, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring that little bell.